Yo, what's up? You already know what time it is, YouTube. It's your boy, the host with the most, Anthony Simmons. And if you're watching this podcast right now, then you should know. And if you don't, I'm about to tell you. You're watching Higher Heights, the only channel that stands for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And today, I got a good one for y'all. Now, you saw the title and you saw the thumbnail, so you know that we're going to be dealing with Memphis Grizzlies superstar point guard, Ja Morant. Yeah, number 12. We're going to be dealing with this guy and the issues that he's facing in social media today and all over the world, the legal issues and all the backlash that he's facing. But also, I'm going to show y'all how that ties into the mental illness that contributes to the black community's downfall on the daily basis. With that being said, I know you're going to enjoy the show and I know y'all going to give me some feedback. But first, let's do things the right way and the polite way. If you haven't already done it, I need to let you know what you can do for the channel. You need to go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell because you definitely don't want to miss when I'm dropping content like this. Now that we got that out the way, if you haven't heard already, we're going to be dealing with Ja Morant. Yeah, Memphis Grizzlies superstar point guard Ja Morant, and the issues that are all over the media right now about him and his dealings with a 17-year-old kid or whatever he did, his involvement in a scuffle or a fight, and also the waving of pistols and all this. Now, you may say, well, what happened? What's the backstory? To me, in this situation right here, where you got a superstar point guard, an elite person who has made it out of the hood, this is my first take on this, y'all. When you got a person in Ja Morant's position, this should be unheard of. First of all, I'm letting y'all know this right now. This should be unheard of. Similar to the Migos when Takeoff passing and his untimely demise, he should have never been in that situation. And I'm saying the same thing for Ja Morant. Y'all, when we fight so hard in the black community to aspire to get out of the hood, when we rap, we're trying to get out of the hood. The goal is to get out of the hood. When you become a lawyer or a successful success story, then your goal is to get out of the hood. When you become an NBA player or athlete, period, you're trying to get out the hood. At least that's what I thought the goal was, to get out of the hood. But you know that old adage that they got out there, you can take the boy out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the boy. And I think this is kind of like what's going on with Ja Morant. When you look in the case of Ja Morant is just a small, minute part of the problem that goes on in the black community as far as mental health. Because when you look at a guy like Ja Morant, when you listen to his story and where he came from and the hard work and the dedication that he put in, you got to know that a person like Ja Morant is not really hood. Like, he's not really in the streets. He's from the streets, but he wasn't in the streets, because there's no way you could put in the kind of dedication and work that it takes to get to where he's achieved and gotten to without working, without grinding. And that takes consistency. So many of his days growing up were spent on the hardwood, were spent on concrete, were spent training, trying to get to the level that he's made it now. And I said all that to say this: just because you hang around hood people does not make you hood. This kid is clearly not hood. His father struggled to get him where he at. He pumped him, primed him, and got him where he's at. Right now, Ja Morant needs people around him to help and support him. Let's get into that later. I'm just speaking to the bigger issue in our community, in the black community, which is really mental illness. Whether or not y'all want to believe it or not, is mental illness. Anytime you've gotten in position to change your family's life, anytime you've gotten in position to do things for other people and put your family in a situation where you have generational wealth, which is the goal and should be the goal of every person in America, let alone just the black community. When you've found yourself in the position that you worked so hard for, and you're willing to let it go because you want to prove something to somebody. This is a mental illness in the black community, along with several other things that we need to address in the black community if we want to achieve and go higher as a whole. We got a lot of individuals that get to certain places, and then the next thing you know, this light is cast back on us. When you look at the Young Thug situation, the Young Thug, the CEO of YSL, and he's facing the charges that he's facing with his whole gang and a lot of people turning on him and snitching. We're going to get into that in a minute too. But why should they even have to snitch on you? Why are we even making it a big deal to snitch? Before we get into the snitching thing, because you know I'm going to put it out there. If you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's going to be worth it. But before we get into that, y'all, like I said once before, the goal is to get the bag and to get out of these dangerous environments, to get out of these poor mentalities, to get out of the crab in the barrel type mentality. That's the goal. Even if you work a regular 9 to 5, your goal is to provide a better opportunity for your family and the people around you. Even if it's just yourself, this is your goal, should be your goal. But what happened with black people is we have this cancer and this disease called keeping it real, called being loyal, called staying down, called showing people that you're still who you say you are. That's a total bunch of bull crap. That's a total bunch of bull crap. I'm trying to elevate, and if you're not trying to elevate, you can't be around me. That's point blank, period. You can't hang in the circles that I'm hanging with. I know people right now that I love to death, but they can't hang in certain circles because they're not willing to let go of those cancerous habits and sayings and mottos and creeds that they had in the streets. You understand what I'm saying? So back to Ja Morant real quick. You're looking at a guy that is potentially worth millions, if not worth billions. All the opportunities that he's going to be afforded because of his name and his face sake. People around him have to be better at protecting and shielding him. You know how you do it. You know, people say, well, he's the provider. He's the person with money. You cannot be blinded and jaded by that. Yeah, you have to take a chance of telling him something that he may not want to hear. Yeah, you have to take a chance of risking it all that he may cut you off. But if the people around him would not stand for that, if the people around him would encourage him and tell him that he's bigger than what he is acting like, then he would eventually have to listen. Now, if he chose not to do it and veer off on the left on his own, then you let that be his case. But do not be an enabler. Don't be in his circle encouraging these acts. Because he is the provider, because he's the breadwinner, because he may be paying your rent or paying your car note, you got a lot of yes men around. You know, a lot of people didn't realize why Michael Jackson liked to be in the company of children. Now, hold on. I don't know what they personally did, but this is why Michael Jackson said, he said, because the fame and the money blinded a lot of people. And when you're getting that successful, when you got that much money, when you got that much power, nobody wants to tell you no. Nobody wants to tell you what you really need to hear. They're going to always say yes. They're going to always agree because you are their meal ticket. So I agree with Jalen Rose's take on Ja Morant when he said, listen, you're the leader, Ja Morant. You're the one who put yourself in this position to be able to take care of a lot of folks. You're going to have to be responsible yourself as well. If you're around people who you continue to feel like you have to prove your realness and authenticity to, these people do not care about you genuinely in the first place. If you feel this pressure to have to prove to people, that's another way that I know that you're not fully a grown man yet either. Do you understand what I'm saying? A grown, mature person does not feel the need to have to prove anything to anyone else. As long as they're true to themselves, they keep it real with themselves and be honest with themselves, they will face the consequences of what everybody else thinks about them, Ja Morant. That's my advice to you. Back to the no snitching. Back to the no snitching. Back to the no snitching. A mental illness in the black community. A mental abuse that was placed on us, especially back in the early 90s when no snitching really jumped off and took place. People don't realize how that created a mental illness within the black community. Now, first of all, let me preface my comments by saying this. No snitching, when I did the history and research on no snitching, nobody understands where no snitching came from in the black community. In the black community, we believed in no snitching because back in the early 60s, the 50s and 60s, you know how police used to do us and still continue to do us to this day? We just have camera evidence of it. Black people police their own communities. They police their own communities because a lot of times when crimes were committed, the police wasn't coming to punish the person who committed the crime. They didn't care who committed the crime or not. They were coming to crack heads and cause chaos in our community. So our people would police our own communities. So we said, listen, don't go to the laws because we're going to take care of it. We're going to protect ourselves. We're going to police ourselves. We're going to take care of any problem that goes on in these communities because we could not trust the police. So this is where don't go to the police came from. But what do you do when the people who are in charge of protecting you, just like we want to get on the police, these same people in our own communities who look like us terrorize us as well? They terrorize us, and then they lord over us with a cloud saying, don't go to the police. You'll be looked at as less than if you go to the police, if you snitch on somebody, if you tell that little baby robbed your cousin, if you tell that somebody raped your daughter or broke in your house. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like, they lord over you with this cloud of, if you snitch, you're in trouble. Now, this is my problem I have with snitching. I don't understand all the rules of it. I really don't get all the rules of it, because who's allowed to snitch and who's not allowed? Who is allowed to snitch? Huh? Who's not allowed to snitch? What happens to snitches when they do snitch? Do they get stitches? Well, that used to be the moniker, but it seems like today, most people who snitch, hey, they become even more popular and lucrative and famous than ever before. So when I look at this, I'm about to be breaking this down. Like, what is snitching really? Who are the people who benefit from you not snitching? When I look at the Young Thug YSL case, and they saying Gunna flipped over and turned over on him, and he snitched on him, and everybody shunning him and making fun of him and making memes about this young rapper and saying, well, he snitched. Huh? I'm saying, what's wrong with him saying, I'm not going to jail for something that I have not been a participant in? I'm telling you right now, as a grown man, here's full disclosure. I ain't going to jail for nobody. I'm not going to jail for nobody. I don't care who it is. I don't care what your name is. If your social security number ain't mine, if your DNA ain't running through my veins right here, and I mean, that's me, my presence, I ain't going to jail for you. If I get in your car and you got something, you better hold up for it, because if you don't hold up for it, they gonna know it's yours. I'm not losing my freedom. You got one of these things called life, people. And I don't play with my life in no regards. So with that being said, I'm not going to play with my life when it comes to you. You want me to go sit somewhere and do 30 years because I want to remain solid with you? You want me to go do 30 years for you. Now, here's another thing that I want to put in this real quick. Let me let y'all know. They got something called the game. They got something called a game. And all these people who so-called in the game, whether or not they're thieves or hustlers or gangsters or mobsters, or all these people are in the so-called game. Let me tell y'all something about y'all real quick, the ones that are in the game. The ones that are in the game, then yeah, that's y'all rule. If you out here committing crimes, if you out here selling dope, if you out here part of conspiracy to commit crimes, and you conspiring with people, and you go down with somebody and you snitching, yeah, something wrong with you, because you're part of the game. That's y'all law. Don't snitch. We all know that's a crock of bull, because I worked in the penitentiary system, and the main people telling are the ones that y'all think are the most solid anyway, the ones with the tattoos all over them, the ones with never fold, hold my own, stand my 10 toes. Them the ones snitching. Yeah, they snitching. Soon as they snitching. Right? So when we look at this and analyze this situation, this mental illness in our communities, come on now, that's crazy. So first of all, if you're a part of the gang, you ain't got no business opening your mouth. You don't tell. Another thing is, if you get snitched on in the game, you got to know that that's part of the game. That's part of the game. My daddy always told me this. He was like, look, when you a real true to the game dope seller, you already know what's coming with it. You got your bail money put up. You got your lawyers paid up. You already got your lawyers on deck, because you know one day that you're going to eventually come to an end, whether it's death or you standing in front of the judge, and you're prepared for that. See, it's only these little petty Eddie, half part-time, halfway thugs, halfway gangsters and killers who don't know the consequences of the game, who don't want to face consequences of the game. But when you really true to the game, you got to expect somebody might tell on you. Somebody might blackmail you. Somebody might, all this is part of the game. And see, I think the big problem they have with some of these rappers who get on the stand and tell, especially like Takashi 6ix9ine, you know, if you don't know who Takashi 6ix9ine is, he's the person who got on the stand and just told a whole book and made a whole motion picture. I told him everything he knew, from the rooter to the tutor, from the first detail to the last, even stuff they didn't want to know, Takashi told. And I think the problem that we have with people like that most of the time is you're rapping and you're benefiting and you're profiting off of this culture, off of this mentality, gang, off of this mentality, don't snitch, off of this mentality of gangster thug. Yeah, you profiting off the mentality, and then you the first one to flip. Yo, you should have a problem with a person like that, because you the one hollering solid. I never fold. I don't talk to the police. You're the one hollering that in all your lyrics. Yet, So I'm gonna tell y'all this: if Takashi 6ix9ine was a regular, everyday working Joe, a civilian, as they might say in the streets, you're a civilian. Ain't nobody got no problem with you telling, because there's a lot of people out here ain't got no problem telling. Charleston White ain't got no problem telling. He proud of telling, because guess what? He's a citizen. He's not out here committing crimes. He's not committing crimes. He don't live by that law. So you got to understand, everybody not playing these games with y'all. And I'm glad it's being exposed. I'm glad it's being put to the light. Back to Morant. This is a mental illness when you're worth millions of dollars, when you're the face of an NBA franchise and you still acting like somebody out here who works at Cracker Barrel, that works at Huddle House. It's a mental illness. It's a mental illness when you're Young Thug. You're the CEO of a rap company. You're making millions off streams and music. You're an idol, you're an icon, and you're in court facing a RICO case from dealings that you didn't even have to be involved in, because you still have an insecurity. You still got something going on with you and your heart that was embedded in you from a community that does not care about you. Because if people care about you, they not finna let you fall like that. They not finna sit up there and watch you do something to the show when people really care about you. If I see my son, who's 5 years old, getting ready to cross the road, no matter how bad he wants to cross that road, I'm going to go either stop him or assist him in crossing that road the right way, because I don't want to see him get ran over by a car. I don't want to see him get hit by a bus. So I'm there for him because I don't want to see him make a mistake. Yes, he has legs. Yes, he can make the decision to walk, but I know that it would be better if he had somebody guiding him. So when people really care about you, they're not going to see you be no crash dummy. So the people around you only are around you to take away from you. Jalen Rose said something else before I get ready to go. If you haven't liked the video, like it, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell. Jalen Rose said something else, and this makes so much sense because I always said it 2 ways, but he said 4 ways. He said people come into your life for 4 reasons, and this is awesome. I got to give him his credit. People come into your life to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. I like that. They either coming to add something to your life, they coming to take something away from your life by subtracting. And I like these kind of people. They come to multiply in your life if it's positive. Or they come to divide, take everything you got and tear it apart and destroy it and tear it down to you're nothing. And then those same people who are around you, you will not find them anymore. Ja Morant, if you lose your position in life right now, if you lost your millions, if you lost your contract, if you lost that house you living in, if you lost that car, the same people that are cheering you on and egging you on and encouraging you and enabling you to have this kind of behavior be the same ones that they won't pick up your phone call no more. And some of them will still kick it with you just so they can make sure every day you stay down, waiting on the day that you take yourself out because you had it all and lost it all. Let me know what y'all think about this mental illness in the black community. Let me know what y'all think. I want to hear what y'all think, fam. What do you think about our black people who get in these positions and stupid stuff causes them to be drawn back down and is of their own demise? What do we do as a black community to try to change this? Because it's embedded in us, this no snitching and keeping it real. Even the mafia told on each other. Y'all know that, man. Even the mafia told on each other. But guess what? They know the game. Yeah, they know the game. Yeah, they cutting time over there. But we still hold on to it because you know why? It only benefits Boo Boo and Ray Ray and Tay Tay, who want to rob you, who want to sell dope in your community, who want to break into your house with no consequence, who want to extort you, who want to do things to you, and then they want to keep you under a law that they don't fulfill themselves. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. Until next time, y'all be blessed.